Okay, now that we've taken the wheel off, car's up on jack stands of course, I'm going to take off the AC belt so that I can get to the crankshaft case sensor, hopefully, without taking the other belt off. We'll see. I haven't done this before, so this is all new to me. According to the instructions, you loosen up this bolt. This is a 14 millimeter, and then you loosen up that bolt there, take the tension off the wheel, and you pull off the belt. So let's do that first. It doesn't say take it off, it just says loosen it. Okay, so now you can get a 14 millimeter wrench there. Okay, got a 14 millimeter on here. I'll loosen that up. Okay, so you keep loosen this up, and you'll see the wheel is dropping down. You see how loose the belt is right now? It just pulls it down away from the belt. So, okay, so now that we got that off, you can move this out of the way, inspect the belt while it's out, just to be safe, because now would be the time to replace it. It looks in pretty good shape. I changed these not too long ago. So leave that here. Now I can see there's some electrical connections here. I believe I can see the crankcase sensor there, the position sensor. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to it without taking off that pulley. Alright, so now taking off the belt, because we have to remove the pulley. So I got it off the idler pulley, and it comes around, it goes on top of the crankshaft. This is for the AC, and from the crankshaft goes up to the alternator. So that's it right there. Okay, can we leave that right there? We'll pull it out and check it and make sure it's good. And now we've got to take off the crankshaft pulley. Okay, so you loosen the bolt for the crankcase pulley. Just pulls right off. And we can get in there, we can see a little better. It might be easier to remove some more parts according to the manual. The crankcase position sensor goes in. Right here. That's the right hole up where my finger is right there. That's where it went. So the harness is right here, and the harness is broken off. See? That puts me in a world of do. So I ordered a new, I think I got a new harness coming. Not the whole engine harness, just the harness for the crankshaft position sensor. So I need to make some more room around here so I can get in there. So I'm going to start taking some other parts off so I can get in there. Okay, we have a major problem here. In an attempt to change the crankcase position sensor, I was able to get it out without pulling the pulley off, but look what happened. The wires, when I went to pull off this harness, the wires pulled right out. And so now I have this little harness up there. I can't get in there to fix it. I ordered a new harness. I hope it's the right one. Also, you see how all these little metal filings were on the center tip because it's magnetic. When I pull this out of the engine, there was filings on there, so something's worn out inside the engine, obviously, and that probably was affecting the idle because it was interfering with the signal. I don't know. I ordered a new sensor, crankcase sensor. So now I have two problems. So I went to remove the idler pulley, and so I can get in there to see what I need to do. And what happened was, here's the idler pulley. Piece broke off it right there. This bolt sheared off, which was on the top over here, and I can see that it was welded. So whoever changed this idler pulley before, that's what they did. They did something. I know who changed it. I have a record of it when it was done. There's nothing wrong with the idler pulley, but now it's broken. It's all corroded in here, and they should have put some anti-seizing compound on here. So anyway, I ordered a new idler pulley. I also ordered some drill bits that are coming in the mail tomorrow or Tuesday. I just picked these up. These are hard metal drill bits, and I'm starting to drill out that hole, that broken bolt. Fortunately, it's the one on the top, but if you can see it in there, I'll show it to you. I'll point it. Hopefully you'll see it. That's the bolt right there. So you can see I'm starting to drill it out. It's really, really hard. It's hardened metal. And so I'm using these cobalt bits that I bought, that are Milwaukee bits, and I'm trying to get that. Even if I could drill through it, I'll be able to put a bolt on there. But that's only one problem. After I fix that, I won't be able to get to the harness, which is, let me see where it is. I can feel it in there somewhere. It's in here. And so that's going to be another project. And the only way I can see being able to get in there to fix that harness, see, I loosened up these two ground clamps here, thinking I could pull the harness forward, and I couldn't. So I ordered a new harness, and I hope it fits. And then what I'll do is I'll create an access panel in the floorboard in that area there. I'll open it up with maybe a hole saw, and get in there and fix it, and then weld it back in. That's the dilemma I have right now. I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. So I'm working on getting that drill out. I'll let you know, just so you know that this is the problem. And I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to just show you what I did here, because I was able to, you're not going to believe this. I mean, I was able to drill out the broken bolt that was in the block with one of these bits from Milwaukee. These are for hard metal. And I was successful at that. So then I went to the next step, which would be to use an extractor set. I bought these from Harbor Freight. Supposedly these are the top of the line tools that they sell. Let me show you what happened. Broke off. And this metal is harder than the bolt that was what the bolt was made out of. So it was a real challenge to get this out. It's just turning into a major fiasco. However, I've gotten at least some hope here. I'm going to show you what I did. I drilled a hole through the casting, and I got a bolt like this, because behind the casting, there's behind the bolt hole, there's a bump in the casting or something that you can't get a regular bolt in. You need a bolt like this with a short head, Allen key. So I got one in there. I'll show it to you. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. You see it sticking out there as a stud with a bolt on it. So when I put the idler pulley on there, I can remove that bolt and put the bottom bolt of the idler pulley on first. That'll help keep the alignment, and then use that bolt and nut to pull the alignment and hold the idler pulley in. So that That saved me. But let me show you what really worked. Because these Milwaukee drill bits are great, but they didn't work on these hardened extractors. What saved me was these carbide tips. I bought these online. I don't remember where and when. I probably bought them off of Amazon, and to have them here just in case I ever needed it, and I did need it. And I couldn't use any of these diamond bits because there's no way to center it. So I wound up using a Dremel tool with a little tiny carbide tip like this, but it was really small, and I was able to put a dimple in that hardened metal, and then I started drilling, and like I said, it took a while to get it out. So there's another option. There is another option that we could use instead of using that bolt and nut. Is what you could use one of these. These are called blind nuts. Okay, now these blind nuts, it's like a rivet, and you put a tool in here. Most of the tools are big. They're like these big pliers, but they also may have these little small hand tools that you could put a screw in there with a nut on it and pull that forward and lock this into place. That's another option if you want to do it that way. This isn't the right size. This is only probably looks like 3/16. This is a 1/4 inch. But if anything, you need a bolt like this, and I'll go to the store, hardware store, and get something a little shorter that will work. And this is a hardened bolt, which is what I want. And I would also recommend if you ever get stuck doing a job like this, get some anti-seizing compound and put it on the bolts, because what happened was this is not the original idler pulley. This was changed by a local garage years ago, a couple years ago, and this is the bolt that broke off when I tried to take off the top bolt. It broke off, and so you can see that's been welded. So they had a problem with it, and never said anything to me about it, but it worked all these years. One of the other things I wanted to mention was that I also have a 2014 Scion IQ, and I just had that idler pulley replaced, and with the belts, just as a precaution, and they charged me $900. So, and I'm afraid to look underneath there to see if they did the same thing, because be careful if you have to take this idler pulley off. My suggestion would be, if you have a torch, heat this thing until it glows red, and that will expand the aluminum casting, and then you can try to pull this out maybe. But be prepared if it ever happens. Fortunately, it wasn't the bolt on the bottom. If that broke off, I would be up Schitt's Creek. So I would definitely have to change the motor at that point. So now that's all been said, I still have one more problem here, and that is the crankcase position sensor, which I put back in the block just to prevent any filings or shavings coming off and going into the block. I'm going to find a way to get to that wiring. I'll see if I can get underneath so you can get a look. See what I'm talking about here. All right, so here's the sensor and the wire for it. One of the problems I have here is my hands are so big. I can't get into these tight spaces. Here's the wires. I'll try to pull that out so you can see. Okay, here's the broken wires right here. As you can see, there's no way I'm going to be able to get in there to fix those wires. So I'm going to have to open up the floor, drill a hole, an access hole in the floor so I can get there. And I bought the kit, the harness kit comes with these 3 sleeves and these solder couplings to solder onto the wires and into the new harness, but I don't know if these wires have been crossed, so I don't know which one goes where. I'm going to have to go to the wiring diagram to find out which one goes where, because the harness that I bought is not a Toyota. It wasn't available. You had to buy the whole car harness, which was, at least that's what they told me, was $2,000. So we're halfway there. I've got some tools coming in tomorrow, and the harness, I'm waiting for the mail, to come in the mail. Once I get that, we're going to fix this and put this thing back together. And hopefully, after all this trouble and all this work, if this engine is still rough idle, I'm not going to shoot myself, but I don't think she loves me anymore. You know the feeling? And that means time for a new friend. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you on the next one. I'll finish up when I get the parts, and we'll take it from there. Okay, my friends. Here's our new idler pulley. Got it in the mail. Bought it on Amazon. $75. Toyota wanted $237 for it. It's the same part. I looked at the back. I looked at the manufacturing. It looks exactly the same, identical. So I don't know what that means, if it's made by the same factory or not. But anyway, we're going to put this in, and we're going to use this stainless steel bolt and nut that broke off the block. See if you can see that. I know the lighting is not very good. I put the new idler pulley in position, and it's hanging by the top stud. I put the stud through there just to hold it. So now I'm trying to get this this bolt started here. I'm going to get it in there. I'm a gearhead from back in the 70s, and I built and raced Chevys a long time and built engines, and I don't know much about these Japanese cars, but I'm learning. Okay, so I got the bolt on the bottom started. So we get this snugged up. And then we'll get to the top. Got the top one started. All right, that's snug. And we'll get down a 12 millimeter wrench for the bottom one. All right, so now I got this 12 millimeter socket with this 1/4 inch drive on a swivel head. See if we can get it. Yeah, that's working. Now, right here, there's a pin in here. You see this pin goes through here? That's locking the idler pulley in place. So when you put the belt on, as you'll see, you pull this down, pull that pin out, and then the tension will be on the belt. So let me tighten up this and the top one, and then we'll get ready to put the belt on. All right, this is the only 12 millimeter box wrench I have. I think that's good. Let's double check. Okay, one more thing I want to point out. There's supposed to be a shield around here, a plastic guard. You can see the hole here. There's another one up here. I think there's 3 plastic pins that sit in there. The last people that changed this idler pulley left this off. And so over the years, all that water and moisture has been getting shot up into these electrical connections up here. Not that they're damaged or anything, but listen to this. You hear that? That's my clutch for my air conditioner. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but you know, check the car, make sure you have that shield on there, because that protects the moisture from getting in there. And I don't see, I mean, these connectors are pretty good. They're watertight, but you never know. You get water in here, and then it could corrode the wires. This is for the air conditioner, the compressor. So, okay, so the idler pulley is on. I just have to tighten up the top bolt, and we'll put on the belt, or the belts. I got that Allen key positioned in the back of the bolt because this is the type of bolt that I used, a little shorter, and half an inch shorter. I didn't want it sticking out too far. I actually could have used a 1-inch bolt, but anyway, this is what we're going to use to hold the top nut on. All right, so we're using a stainless steel bolt and nut so it doesn't rust. I'll take this Allen key out. All right, so the idler pulley's in. Next is the belt. Okay, before we attempt to put the bolts in, we have to put the crankshaft pulley back on. That would be good, right? So if you've never done this job before, there's a little dimple, a little hole in that crankshaft pulley that goes on that little pin. You line that up. Like I said before, I got the, you know what, maybe what I'll do is I'll wait till I get the crankshaft sensor in before we put the pulley in, and so we'll hold off on the belts for now, and let's move right along. So if you've been following along, you know that I have this broken wires that go into the crankcase sensor, and I can't get to it to put on a new crankcase sensor. Goes in right here. It's right here. It goes in there. And I looked in there with a borescope. You can see the teeth on the crank. And I mentioned before that we had some shavings, some metal shavings on the tip of the crankcase sensor. So that could mean, well, something's worn out. It could be a valve, it could be a ring, it could be cylinder walls, anything metal that would attach itself to the magnetic field on that sensor. So something is worn out in the engine. Not quite sure what it is. Well, once we get this thing back up and running, well, if it's still doing the same thing, then my only choice now, I've changed everything else, is to change the engine. So I can get a new short block. I don't really want to. So okay, let's continue. Okay, this is the original crankcase position sensor, and you see I just picked up some metal shavings on there. So let me get a magnet and clean this area up here. The next thing we want to do is get more metal shavings on there, because it could interfere with the signal. Okay, we got the crankcase sensor back in. This is the original one. I put it back in. I had to take the idler pulley off to get in there. So anyway, that's in. The next thing we're going to do is put the crank pulley back on. This is gets torqued to, I believe, 95 pounds. Okay, so I stuck this crowbar in there up against the block. I got this set at 94. That's what the book calls for. Okay, my friends, we are back. Hopefully we'll be able to get this car started up today. The belts are on. The idler pulley's on. I pulled out the camshaft position sensors and cleaned them and checked them to make sure there wasn't any debris on them, because when I pulled out the crankcase sensor, I found some metal shavings on there, which could only mean that something in the engine is worn. Probably the rings, possibly a valve, something metal. So now I only have this one problem, because when I pulled the crankshaft position sensor off, my hand had grease on it, my gloves, and it slipped, and I pulled the wires right out. So now I'm in a pickle. But I have this new pigtail I bought. Actually, I bought 2 of these that will fit on the sensor. But now, there's no way in the world I can get my hands behind there to get to that crankcase sensor. So what I'm going to do is the only thing I can do. It's either that or get rid of the car. I mean, what can I do? Pull the engine out? So it was a mistake that I made. Slipped. So here, I took out I pulled up the carpet, and there's a little rubber plug here that comes out, some kind of an access, and I can see a bolt there that's for the air conditioner compressor. And I'm assuming that that's the reason why that hole is there, so you can get a wrench in there and loosen that up. I don't know. Maybe not. So what I'm going to do here is I drilled a couple of tiny little holes, one up here, and then one over here where this awl is sticking out. And this is right near where the wiring is. So I'm going to get this carpeting up out of the way so I can see. So I'm going to cut out a hole right here, and hopefully be able to pull that crankcase wire through and connect the new sensor to it, and hopefully that'll fix it, because at this point in time I don't really have a choice. I think it would have been great if Toyota had an access panel here, so you can get to the starter and the compressor, but they don't. So we're going to have to do that. So stand by. I'm going to get a hole saw and get to work. Okay. I'll save that piece that came out, and we'll weld it back in. Now, oh boy, here's the wire. There's the wires. Okay, so I can get to the wires. Now the blue, purple, and orange. I took a picture of my 2014 IQ, and the wires are, the blue wire was on top, the purple was in the middle, and the orange, looks like orange, it could be pink, was on the bottom. So let's get this, get my soldering iron out and get this thing fixed up. Okay, now hopefully, I don't know how good my solder job's going to be here, but I'm going to shrink this tubing. Okay. Okay, so here it is. It's finished. I hope we got good connections on there. So now we're going to hook this up to the crankcase sensor, and then we're going to hook the battery back up, and we're going to see if it starts, and then if it does, then we'll seal up this hole and put everything back together. Okay, so there's the plug. I got it on top of the sensor. I just have to push it in. There it goes. Now make sure that that wire isn't touching anything or rubbing up against anything. That's it. So I had to take off the air conditioner belt to get my hand up there. Well, I'll put that back on. And the big test will be so we can get this thing started. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are where we're at right now. I got it all back together. Car would not start, so I had to pull the harness off the crankcase sensor again. I didn't wire it properly. Now it's wired properly. The car starts. But I just wanted to show you what I did here because this, I had no other choice. This was either that or I'd pull the engine out. And I drilled these 2 holes here, and I got the holes that I'm going to tack weld these back in there and seal that up. But in an emergency, if you ever have to take out the air conditioning compressor or get to the crankcase sensor, you can do it this way and get an idea of where these holes are. This was basically, there's a bracket. Let me take off these glasses. There's a bracket in here. Hope you can see that bracket. And that bracket is holding the harness in. So I took that bolt out and I was able to pull the harness back so I could work on it. That's where we're at. So now the car starts. I'm going to clean this up, seal these holes up. By the way, this little rubber plug that goes in here, there's a bolt behind here for the air conditioner compressor. I mean, maybe that's what that's there for. I don't know. This is all new to me. This is the first time I'm ever doing this. So it might be some help for you guys if you ever have to get to the back of this. And this is, I didn't drill through any of the structural part of the body. This is all just sheet metal. Okay, so I sealed up those 2 holes in the firewall. I welded those plugs in there and then sealed it up with some silicone, threw some black paint over there. And now I'm going to put this all back together. Car is running, still doing the same thing, but I'll be back to diagnostics. Okay, here's a picture of the crankcase position sensor with the wiring, the color of the wiring. So just in case you have a problem with that, you'll be able to see how those wires go in. Okay, thanks for watching this time. I'm still working on this thing. I will let you know if I find anything else.